walk in the conference room, there's HR, loss prevention, and security's on standby. What's up, guys? Hello! Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Chelsea. For those just now seeing my face. Okay, so this is gonna be my first story time for this channel, but I felt like if I was gonna kick off my story time series, this is gonna be one for the books. So for those of y'all who are coming from my part 1 of Amazon video, welcome. For those of y'all who just clicked on this because you just typed in working at Amazon, welcome. And for all of my regular people that be up in here, welcome as well. So I'm gonna get straight to the point, y'all. I'm gonna talk about how in the actual fuck I got fired from Amazon, and it was horrifying. It just happened about a month ago, and it basically just kind of set in motion a whole bunch of life-altering events for me. It was very traumatizing. It was ridiculous. So let me just start off by saying this. I got hired with Amazon back in November of last year, and it was right during like peak season. And those of y'all that work with Amazon know what peak season means. That's right when everybody's ordering stuff for Christmas. So it was like already chaotic and nonsense then. So I had watched Amazon videos like prior to about working at Amazon, so I kind of went in there cautious already. And just from me working there, I realized that yeah, they be trying to get rid of you at all times, and it's so fucking stupid. So I was already walking on eggshells, like trying to make sure that I do everything correct, make sure I was there on time, I came back from breaks on time, like girl, just make sure I was doing everything possible. So basically, to go into what set up my expulsion from the Amazon. So back in January, this was right after peak season, and they had fired a whole bunch of people, right? And we were trying to figure out, you know, who's gonna be on our shift, like how many people are there or whatever, right? So what started to happen was that because they got rid of so many people, like things started to kind of slack off. And one of the things that started to really slack off was the break room. Because the way that Amazon has their break room set up, I'm gonna try to show a little short video of me kind of being in the break room. They have a bunch of these little like Coca-Cola and Pepsi kind of cooler fridges type of situations. And that's where we're supposed to be able to put our lunches. And there is a sign on there that says that they're supposed to be cleaned out every single Saturday at like 3 p.m., which Saturday makes sense because it's a light day. Most of the times they VTO on Saturdays because of how light it is, so that makes sense. But right after peak season, that started to like slack off. I don't know if they got rid of the cleaning people or what, but that started to slack off, and there started to be like a bunch of like old lunches and shit just piled up in the damn fridges. So I personally put my lunch in the same spot every single day since I started. I don't waver from it. It's in the same damn spot. So what I started to notice was that there would be just piles of like old food, like old like Bojangles and like just old takeout food. Not necessarily people's like section plate containers, but like old fast food. Like it's like people would leave like cups of like energy drink just open. Like who the fuck is gonna come back and get that shit? So after a while of it just sitting there, I was like, fuck that shit. It's sitting over here. It's smelling. It's leaking everywhere. It's just gross. So if I noticed that there was like some old shit that had been sitting there for like at least 2 weeks, I typically would give it like 2 weeks. If I come, now mind you, my shift was Sunday through Wednesday, right? So if I come in Sunday through Wednesday for 2 weeks consistently, and that same Bojangles chicken box is still sitting up in there, okay, clearly nobody wants that shit. So I just started to throw away stuff that I knew for a fact that had been sitting up in there stinking, molding, and it was but he was just in my little area. Keep in mind, I'm going to continue to say that, just in my area. I was not going to, you know, a bunch of the fridges or anything like that. That's what I was doing, right? So I was like, yeah, this is gross. I'm gonna toss this right where my lunchbox is. Okay, I didn't think nothing of it because I had started doing that, like I said, right after peak in January, right? So let's fast forward to June, right? So I am at work. This is like at the beginning of June. I'm at work and I done pretty much worked my whole damn shift. It gets around like 3 something or whatever, and my manager, he comes up to me and he says, hey, they want me to take you to the learning desk. Now I didn't think none of it when he said that, because in my head I'm like, oh, they probably want me to get trained for something else, or you know, that could be anything. Like, they could actually go to the learning desk to really like do anything. So I didn't think nothing of it at first. I didn't even grab my shit. Like, I didn't grab my water bottle, nothing, because I was like, okay, I need to go run to the learning desk to go see, you know, I know the people up there, no big deal. So he takes me, walks me up to the learning desk, and I'm asking him, I was like, you know what this is about? And he's like, no, I don't really know. They just came on the walkie-talkie, said to come get you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get up to the learning desk. I'm looking for the girl that I normally see at the learning desk. I'm like, okay, where's she at? What's she doing? And I didn't see her. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, who would want me up here if she's not up here? So next thing I know, my manager, he's like, okay, well, I don't know who called you. Just sit in this one of these conference rooms. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting in the conference room. I'm still looking around like, hey, what the fuck is going on, right? And then my manager comes to get me. He's like, hey, I need you to come in this conference room. I'm like, okay. So I walk in the conference room. There's HR, loss prevention, and security's on standby, right? And I'm just like, okay, like what's going on? Now, granted, I wasn't immediately put on super high alert, because I've been called into the like the loss prevention office before while I was there, because I had found a box of bullets on a UPS truck one time, and I gave it to my managers and the PAs and stuff, and I didn't think nothing else of it, but apparently like the PAs and stuff like dropped the ball, and that fucking box of bullets was floating around that place for weeks, and then it finally got the attention of a manager, so I had to go to loss prevention, explain what happened. They saw the cameras, it wasn't that big of a deal. So I didn't think nothing of it, right? So when I saw loss prevention, this was a new loss prevention guy, but I knew it was loss prevention. I was like, well, I'm like, maybe they're about to ask me, had I seen something else, like something slip out of there? Now, mind you, I worked at the Amazon Excel facility. So this is not an Amazon that has small stuff that you can just kind of walk out of the building with. So it's like, in my head, I'm still like, okay, maybe they're asking, did I see something? But in my head, I'm like, who the fuck like is taking stuff? Because you can't, it's big as shit, right? So I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? I'm just sitting there, right? So I'm asking HR, I'm looking at her because I know her. Not like know her personally, but like I've talked to her before about different things. And I looked at her, I'm like, hey, do you know what I'm in here for? And she's like, no, not really. They just asked me to be in here. So that's even more reasons why I'm like, okay, something is up, because my manager didn't know what the fuck was going on. HR don't even know what the fuck's going on. I'm like, okay, what's happening? So here comes this fat ass loss prevention guy, and he sits down and he starts like going on this spiel of like, you know, this is what I do. I check to see if this is a blah, you know, just this whole roundabout spiel of like what he does at Amazon, all this kind of shit. And I'm just looking at him like, okay, get to the point. Like, why am I in here, right? And he, after like 5 or 10 minutes of him going on and on and on, like, he's like, yeah, so we've had some complaints recently about things that have gone missing. So I'm still in my head like, okay, what the fuck is gone missing? Like, I'm really in my head trying to think, okay, maybe they're still talking about the box of bullets that I found a few months ago. Like, maybe that's still going on and he's new, he's trying to figure out what the fuck, because I personally was surprised at that situation that they didn't go further than that, because they could have easily been like, you brought them bullets up in here. So that's what I thought. Maybe this was like a months later continuation, and I'm still in there confused as fuck. So I'm like, okay, where is he going with this? And he finally says, yeah, we've had some several complaints with HR saying that people's lunches have gone missing. And I'm looking like, the fuck, lunch has gone missing? Okay, whatever. So I'm confused in my head, because I'm just like, okay, so what does that have to do with me, right? I'm still like lost as fuck. And he's like, yeah, so we had one person come today saying that a week's worth of their food had been thrown out. And I'm looking at them like, the fuck? So I'm thinking in my head like, I know, like I told y'all, I know for a fact that I have tossed old food out of the fridge where my lunchbox is. I'm gonna continue to say that, where my lunchbox is, okay? Just that little shelf, okay? So I'm still confused in my head, because I know for a fact that me throwing away a box of old old eaten chicken or a cup of juice or something like that. Like, that's not a week's worth of somebody's fucking lunch. Like, clearly if somebody had left like, you know, like a grocery bag with like groceries in it and, you know, meal preps and shit, of course I wouldn't have thrown that away. That's somebody's stuff clearly. So I'm confused now as to why I'm sitting in here. And y'all, this is where things got bad really fast, because he's basically saying that he's like, yeah, so I'm going to ask you, do you know anything about this? And blah, blah, blah. And me, I went, well, the only thing that I know is that sometimes there's old food, old moldy food sitting up on the shelf where I keep my lunchbox, and sometimes I toss that away. And he goes, okay, so how many times do you think that you've done this? And I'm thinking in my head, motherfucker, I don't know. Like, I told y'all I have been casually tossing this shit since January. So it's June now. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, so he's like, I'm gonna ask you again, because I already know, but I'm gonna ask you again because I'm trying, because he was basically making it seem like he was trying to help me out. Like, he was like, if you give me the answers that I'm looking for, then we'll go easy on you. We'll go like whatever. So at that point, when I figured out what he was doing, because he kept doing stuff like that, right? He was going back and forth. He was just like, how many times have you done this? How much money do you think that you threw away? Like those weird ass types of questions. And I knew right then that I was in a situation, because I watch way too many, like, you know, ID crime shows, and the way that this guy was like interrogating me, I don't care what anybody says, he had to have worked for like Fulton County PD, or like he worked at Walmart loss prevention or something, because the way that he was interrogating me, you would have thought I would have walked about it in one of them 85-inch TVs. So I'm just like, okay, sir, this is like getting really intimidating. I literally asked if I could have a lawyer at one point, because the way that he was asking me those questions, I felt like I needed legal representation, because he was really trying to get me to say specific things, and then was making it seem like he was doing me a favor. He was like, yeah, like if you give me, because he was just like, because he kept saying, let me like explain to you how this is gonna go. Let me explain this how this is gonna go. Like, if you you know, cooperate with me and I give a good report, then, you know, we could just, you know, call this water under the bridge and that'll be it. But if you don't, then it's gonna look like blah, blah, blah. So he was making it seem like he knew all this information, right, about me and about what I've done, but yet he was asking me for specific numbers. So in my head, I had already knew, okay, either I'm about to get rolled up or something like that, because this guy already has it in his head that I'm the person and I'm gonna go down for this, even though I knew damn fucking well that I hadn't thrown away no week's worth of food, that I hadn't been throwing away no bunch of shit. Like, y'all, come on now. So he's doing all of this. Now mind you, I'm giving him these answers or whatever, and I admitted within the first 10 minutes of him trying to interrogate me that yes, I've thrown away old food in that fridge before, but yet he's like continuing to hound me as if I lied the first time. And it was pissing me off to the point where I started crying, and even like HR was like looking at him like, dude, like chill the fuck out, because it was like he was literally grilling me as if I had lied about it. And it was just making me mad, because y'all, I don't have many pet peeves, but I cannot stand being accused of things I did not do. And that was triggering to me, because if I'm telling you, hey, I've thrown away old food at one point, but then you're making it seem like you're basically trying to accuse me of like throwing away people's groceries and shit. Like, no, like I literally kept saying no. Only thing I threw away was like old chicken, old styrofoam plates, like stuff clearly somebody went and got from whatever restaurant, brought it, ate it, left it in the fridge, forgot about it, and just said fuck it, right? Because you gotta think about how many people flow through that building at a time. It's over 100 plus people on a shift per shift. So there's a day shift and you know, and a night shift. So it's like, of course that shit can easily pile up. So I'm over here telling him all this stuff, and he's just steady, like I said, hounding me and interrogating me. And even the HR person was agreeing with me and was like, yeah, like I can't even like put my lunch in there a lot of times, it's so piled up. And I'm just like, okay, so if HR is telling you, she's agreeing with what I'm saying, why am I still here? So finally, after like, I kid kid you not, y'all, it was like 20 minutes. It felt like forever of him interrogating me about this food. He finally gets a piece of paper and he's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to write this statement and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, make sure that you seem real apologetic in this statement because this is gonna go to the board and they're gonna review this and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just like, dude, I don't give a shit. I just want to get out of here at this point because I literally was so flustered and pissed off and I'm crying at this point and it was so much going on. I just wanted to go the fuck home. And luckily for me, I actually had enough PTO and UPT to go. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do this real quick and I'm gonna fucking go. And I made my statement on one piece of paper and they didn't even use the whole paper. And he kept looking at me and he was just like, you don't want a piece of paper? You don't want to add more? And I'm like, no, like, there's nothing else to this story. Like, I just told you, yes, I threw away old ass moldy food out of the fridge. What the fuck else do you want me to say? No, I did not throw away anybody's groceries. No, I did not throw away, like, it was making me mad because he kept wanting me to like say certain things, like, and it was just really pissing me off. So I was like, dude, here's your fucking statement. I want to go home. So I give him this statement. He starts walking out of the door. I told HR, I said, hey, I'm gonna go and get my stuff off the floor, but I'm gonna go home because this is like really traumatizing and my anxiety is being pushed at this point. This is like a lot. And like she goes, okay, yeah, that's fine. But then the guy, he's almost out the door. He turns around and he goes, oh, well, I have to get a manager to escort you out. And I'm like, escort me out for fucking what? And I'm looking at him like, okay, why do I need to be escorted out? He goes, oh, well, let me tell you how this is gonna go. You are now suspended because this is now a full-blown investigation. And once we conclude our investigation, then we'll let you know if you can come back. And I was like, the fuck? So you mean to tell me that you are going to suspend me for throwing away, for basically doing what the janitor's job was supposed to be? Really? So at that point, I really got pissed because I'm just like, I have worked at this job for 6 months, never gotten written up for anything, never got TOT, never did any fucking thing, and I'm being treated like a criminal. And that was just beyond me at that point. So I'm over here at this point now, I'm really crying because in my head I'm like, suspension is gonna be firing. Like in my head I was already fired because I was just like, I have never heard anybody go on suspension and keep their job. Like that is a rarity that actually happens. So here I am, and then like I kept asking if I could go to the floor to get my stuff because I had like my fanny pack, I had some headphones, my water bottle, I had all this shit. I left all my shit on the floor because I didn't think none of this was gonna go down. And they're telling me I can't even go back to the floor. Like I'm not allowed to go back inside of this building. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm having to text my friends and I'm like, hey, just grab my stuff for me. And they're texting me like, okay, where are you? Because we haven't seen you in an hour. And I'm like, dude, I'll just grab my shit. I'll tell you later. And so finally my manager, he comes up and he's confused because he's like, why is she crying? What's going on? So then they had to brief him on what the fuck was going on. So then he goes and he's like, hey, he's like, okay, well, I have to escort you out. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm walking to the door and I'm like, well, can I at least go get my shit out the break room or something? Go get my lunch and my bag and shit. And he's like, yeah, but he has security fucking watch me to go get that, which was dumb as shit. And I'm like, what? So I go get all my stuff and I'm, beeping out of the fucking turnstile and I'm about to walk out the door and he goes, oh wait, by the way, give me your badge. And I'm like, really? So at that point I was like, you know what? Take the shit. I don't care. I went home, had a full-blown like y'all, okay, so I have depression. I've been diagnosed with depression since I was like a teenager, and I have never in my life slipped into depression so fucking fast. Like I did not eat for 2 days, y'all. It was really, really bad what this situation did to me. I can't even explain it because I'm sitting there, I'm at home, and I'm like, not me not having a job out of no fucking where. And trust me, I get it. I know Georgia is an at-will state. This hands down was just so fucking confusing to me because I just didn't understand how I am suspended and about to lose my job over me throwing away food out of the break room fucking fridge. I don't understand. I knew people who was faking COVID leave. I know people who was in the negative of UPT that was still working. I knew people that was doing a bunch of illegal ass shit up at the Amazon and they was still fucking working there. But here I am, a model ass fucking worker, and I'm getting suspended. And I don't even think that's even in the handbook for somebody to get suspended for that shit. So I'm at home, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck. Like I said, I'm depressed. I haven't showered. I haven't eaten. I'm not answering the phone at this point, which is not like me. Anybody that knows me knows I answer my phone all the time. I'm always on Instagram. I wasn't doing none of that shit. I was in a deep ass fucking depression really, really fast. Like, was really contemplating some negative thoughts in my head. And I'm like, okay, is somebody gonna call me about this like suspension? What's going on? So finally, like, I heard nothing that whole second day. So that third day I call and I'm like, okay, y'all have got to tell me something, because it's just like, I'm looking on my A to Z app and I'm still on the schedule. So at this point, I'm thinking in my head, okay, if I am fired, then that's fine, but y'all need to make a decision, because at this point, it's taking my UPT. Okay, I told y'all I never use my UPT for a reason, because I be wanting to leave when I want to leave. So it's taking my UPT because I'm still on the schedule technically, because who the fuck suspends somebody? Like I said, so at this point, I have my whole coworkers, PAs that I'm cool with, everybody's texting me now, is like, where are you? Because they know I don't miss work. And I'm over here like, girl, I got suspended. And they're just like, the fuck, why? Because literally, one of the PAs I was cool with had been working at Amazon for 5+ years, and she has never heard of somebody getting suspended for that. Like, Amazon doesn't even write people up barely. So it's just like, what? It was just so dumb. So like, literally the third day came, I'm calling, and they keep telling me just, they don't know. I finally got a phone call and was like, yeah, so the head HR person decided that we're gonna fire you because of how many times that, you know, it was done, and like, we're taking it as a loss to associates. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. So yeah, that's how the fuck my ass got fired from Amazon, literally over throwing away old food in the break room fridge. Not for UPT, not for TOT, none of that shit. For throwing away, basically doing what the fuck janitors was supposed to do, and they wasn't doing it. So yeah, that was that, you know. And but you know what, it's fine, because even though all of that happened, y'all, it was super traumatizing. Even if they would have given me my job back, I wouldn't have been able to come back after all of that, because it was so fucking traumatizing what happened to me. Like, I literally felt like I stole, like, literally the way that they were interrogating me, I felt like I should have took a fucking 85-inch TV, hell, at least that nice ass LG ice maker that made crushed ice that you can tell Alexa to do it on command. That shit was nice as shit. Hell, at least if I would have took some, I would have been like, you know what? It makes sense that they fucking fired me. But damn, my ass actually did what the fuck I was supposed to do and still fucked around and got fired. That shit was beyond me. But yeah, so that's my story time, y'all. I hope it wasn't too terribly long, but yeah, it was just some nonsense. Whoo, girl, I'm just so thankful to be out of there. But I just wanted somebody to hear how the fuck I got fired, because I'm pretty sure that there's nowhere in the Amazon handbook for me to get fired for something like that. And then on top of that, like, I got an email to appeal my firing, which I did it, but I've never heard anything back from it, and it's been like a month and some change later now. It took them forever to send my termination letter, by the way, and then when I finally got it, it said nothing of the sort to what they claimed that I was getting fired for. So I'm gonna like show y'all real quick what the fuck it said. They basically don't even put a reason, which I've heard that before. Like, people who have gotten fired from Amazon, like when you get your termination letter, it doesn't tell you nothing. Like, it says nothing. It just says, bitch, you fire. Like, it don't tell you what for. It don't say nothing. And that, I think that's bullshit, because if you're gonna fire me, at least put why you fired me. Like, basically, that basically means that Amazon can fire you for anything, whether it's legal or not. And like, on record, it's not gonna say what you were fired for. But I did call ERC and found out that I can no longer work for Amazon anymore, which is even more crazy, because I'm just like, I was a model worker, never got in trouble, and I can't work at Amazon again. But like I said, I know motherfuckers who've been taking advantage of like COVID leave like a motherfucker. And anyway, I digress. But yeah, that's my story time. For anybody else that got fired from Amazon for something dumb, please let me know in the comments below, because I am curious at this point. So, as always, make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I am going to see you guys later.